Hi readers, I'm Jordan.
And I'm Katie.
And welcome to Not Another Heroine, the podcast where we break down the best and worst fictional heroines, those swashbuckling ladies who have to work a little harder than expected for their happy ending.
Want to see what's next on our TBR list? Subscribe to us on YouTube or follow us on Instagram for a sneak peek at upcoming content or to help us pick our next book.
Stage fright. I assumed as much. I can attempt to pick of the
Do
week.
it. Yeah.
Oh no, I shouldn't have said that.
Oh, I'll not make direct eye contact.
That was scary. It is the pick of the week.
Nice. Okay.
I didn't like that. I didn't like it at all.
You're not going to like any of them. That's just you know, you put it out there and then you just never think about it again.
My anxiety jumped so much.
Now you know how I feel all the time.
But you're so musical. Like, you have a nice voice.
Girl.
You do.
Nothing. No way. I'm sorry. I am absolutely like live fact checking you right now because there's no way.
She's live with her blank hands in front of her face.
Why? Yeah, but it is my pick of the week, and I am talking about This Vicious Grace. That's a weird combination of letters.
Vicious.
Yeah, This Vicious Grace by Emily Thiede?
I don't know.
It's like Thiede. Thiede? We'll leave it at that.
How long do you want to spend on the author's name?
I don't know. It's like one of those like brain aneurysms.
Normally I can picture the author's name on like a book cover. I can't picture that one at all.
I think the font for the author's name is super small on this. I don't know why I'm thinking
because no one can say it.
Fair. Because it's also, you have probably seen this book cover. It's the girl holding the orange. I think it's an orange.
I hope it's an orange.
Could be lying. Some kind of fruit, like fondling it a little bit.
She's fondling it.
It's a very intimate touch, which doesn't really make sense because like oranges aren't like a thing in this.
Well, it's the fact that she's holding it in front of her face. Like, hello, orange.
Yeah. It's a really like pretty cover, but I feel like it kind of doesn't really have anything to do with like what's going on in the book. But like, okay.
So I bought this book at half price books or something because it looks like a book that is like fiction-y, like not fiction. Obviously, it's fiction.
I know what you mean, though.
Like literature fiction, but
yeah.
approachable.
It's not really, because you DNF'd this, right? Or just got like halfway through and you're like,
yeah. I just I trailed off.
That's
like,
fair.
I feel like DNF is a very strong word for any book.
Yeah,
so try not to say it.
What is it like when you ghost someone?
Yeah, we ghosted this.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I will say that I got to like 60%, and then I ghosted it for like a week and a half, and then I forced myself to get through the last bit on a road trip when I had nothing else to do.
So you had to be trapped in a vehicle to finish this book.
Forced proximity.
We do like that trope.
That is true. So yeah, it's a decent book. And I will say that the first bit caught me immediately, and I like went through the first 60% maybe in like a day and a half. Like it was I was like reading. Yeah, but then it kind of pittered out. And I think it's because the conflict in this book is really pushed along. And I noticed when I was forcing myself to finish it that the actual conflict, which is this like invasion by these like giant body size,
the wasp things?
Yeah, the like wasp beetle things. It only happens at the very end of the book, and the whole battle is only like 4% of the whole novel. So it's like the whole conflict throughout this novel is only resolved at the very end in a very like meh.
For like a world-ending level, like plot, that seems kind of careless.
Yeah, it felt really rushed at the end, which I think I've noticed with a couple of books that I've tried reading, that the end just kind of like pitters out. So I don't know. But anyway, this story follows Alessa, who is the last, or she's like a finestra, which means window in Italian or Spanish, which is like she's the window from the divine power into a person or some kind of metaphor or allegory thing.
That's a good idea. I remember liking that aspect of it.
Yeah. So basically, once every 5 years, a girl is picked to have this divine power where when she touches someone that has magical abilities, basically, she can magnify and use their abilities because the people that have magic power powers can't really use them themselves. Like, it's just kind of like pitter-pattered out. But if she uses them and like touches them, it magnifies it. And the intent is that they can stop this like wild invasion that happens every 5 years of these like giant bugs. Kind of, yeah. And they're on an island. And there's a bunch of kind of crazy like religious stuff where she's not allowed to touch anyone because she'll like take their soul power or like take their life energy.
Well, can you talk about the beginning? Because the beginning and like the description of how like her little I'm special but it's awful thing.
Yeah.
That's what drew me in originally.
Oh, yeah. One of the most important parts.
Yeah.
So part of the conflict is that the Fenestra is supposed to marry someone called like a Fante, which is the magician. It could be like a man or woman, gender non-discriminatory. I don't know what word I was going for there, but like it could be anyone.
I know you're meaning.
And they get married, and they're the like power duo that protects their island or whatever. Except Alessa has accidentally killed her three previous three of them.
Three of them.
Yeah, and she kind of describes it that the first one she was like really emotionally like fucked up about because like she picked him and she thought it was going to be great, and then her second one was a woman, and she thought it was going to be great because she was way stronger than her previous husband. That didn't work out because she, killed her too. And then the third one, she's like, let's see if this works. Yeah. And it did not. So she's a trice widowed 18-year-old, I think. Yeah, and that's where the story starts. Is she's
so
like sitting.
If you like the dark.
That is true. Yeah, it's pretty dark. But the story starts where she's sitting at the funeral of her third husband. Which,
we shouldn't laugh.
What a vibe. Yeah. So anyway, she is kind of freaking out because she only has like 8 months, I think, at the beginning of this, before this whole invasion of like beetle, wasp, bug things. And she doesn't have a partner and she's panicking. And so that's kind of the whole storyline, is her trying to figure out, well, kind of like bamboozle someone into like sacrificing themselves to like maybe potentially be her like matched pair. But instead, towards the end, she takes a different direction. And that's kind of like the fun power and community. And she's like yeah. So Jordan is like snarling, sad facing. That's probably
that's
about
my
the part.
Disgruntled face.
Yeah, that's probably about the part that she gave up, because that's the part that I gave up.
I gave up at like 60 pages in. I did not.
Oh, goddamn. Oh, okay.
Okay, so I gave up right where they introduce main love interest.
Okay.
It was just too cliche for me.
Yeah, and you will notice that I have not talked at all about a love interest whatsoever. So I will say this book goes against the grain, because I feel like the natural love interest would be another magician where, they hate each other and he's like, I'm not going to let you murder me. I'm sorry, but I'm a little bit too selfish for that.
Maybe it would have been a better book, though.
Yeah, I agree with that. That's a weird...
Maybe there's a reason that trope exists.
Yeah. Huh. Okay. Well, but the love interest instead is kind of this like bodyguard guy who she hires because their religious order is like, you've killed 3 of these like magicians and we only have so many, so we're going to try to like depose you, and like you need to sacrifice yourself so that we can maybe have a new Fenestra and not all die, which...
That's reasonable. I mean, like, what would you do in a similar, like, if you're a political leader and, like, you have someone who's supposed to be the savior and they're just not saving anyone, they're just killing them?
Yeah. So I will say maybe a trigger warning, like, a little bit, but she does have a moment where she's, like, on the brink. But I did kind of find it interesting that she didn't question her position more. Like, she does obviously go through some dilemmas of, like, wow, if, why was I chosen? Like, this obviously isn't working out. Maybe it would be better. But... like, she only thinks about it after a 3rd failed attempt. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
it sounds like, that's what happens when you put an 18-year-old in that kind of position.
That is true. So maybe that's just a really good characterization of 18-year-olds.
Maybe we shouldn't have like a whole fantasy world built on like an 18-year-old savior.
Yeah. Controversial, but I also 100% agree.
Unless you're going to do it better. Like any of the other books we've reviewed.
Oh, goddamn.
Sorry.
It's honestly true. But yeah, the love interest bodyguard, I won't spoil it, but he turns out to be someone like special, but special in a bad way, because she can touch him and he won't hurt at all. And that's like a new experience for her. So you kind of have like that touch deprived main character who like has never been able to touch anyone. That's kind of like Belladonna, now that I think about it.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay. That's the book I was racking my brain. I'm like, where have I read this recently? Belladonna. Yeah.
Yeah, actually, very similar.
Super similar. I don't know why I didn't have that in my 3-book similar, as I will touch on, but I will just take off the last one and put that one there. But anyway, that's this book. And you probably are wondering like where the conflict is. Like,
I'm wondering.
I was too, because the conflict, the whole book is this fucking invasion, but it happens at the very last thing, and they, it happens, and then it's over. No other conflict exists in this book.
That might be a quote. Like, the only conflict is this fucking invasion. Like, no big deal. Just an invasion of gigantic wasp beetle things.
You would think it'd be a bit of a bigger deal, but it is not really.
Okay.
Yeah. But yeah, so that's this book. And I got bamboozled by a pretty cover, I will say.
But like we said in the beginning, it does suck you in. Like, those publishers know what they're doing these days with these book covers. Like, that's how I got sucked into Once Upon a Broken Heart.
Oh, that's fair. Also fair.
I have to vet all of my book choices through you when I go to Barnes & Noble now, because I remember like, oh, this book is beautiful. It's going to look so pretty. Like, I tried the sample seemed good. And then I bought it and I told you about it and you're like, bitch, that book is going to suck.
Yeah.
Okay, so what are the other books that are better?
So Belladonna, I will say, is like way better if you want like a Regency feel. My other ones, so it's funny because you just recorded a bonus episode recommending this one too, but Iron Widow by Xiran Zhao. Super similar concept, the whole like duo power thing where like one isn't really enough and so they need two people.
Right. That seemed very similar setup.
So super similar. It's not like fated mates, but like a less physiological based, you know what I mean? Where like you're mated but not like weird mated. Not weird mated.
There is no other kind of fated mates other than weird fated mates. Like, it's just an odd concept.
Yeah, because even in ACOTAR, it kind of gives me the icky feeling. Because like, what if you don't like that person, or that person is like a really big piece of shit? And your body's just like, no, that's the one.
That's
like,
why that doesn't happen in
the
real world.
That is fair. Choice.
Can you imagine?
Agency.
Gross.
Yeah. So my second one is The Young Elites by Mary Lou. This is like a super YA fantasy book. It came out in like, I want to say like the 2010s. It was like a fun concept. It's kind of dark. It was like a cool... Mary Lou wrote another series. I can't remember it off the top of my head.
Her name sounds really familiar.
She's like a powerhouse in like the YA, like fantasy sci-fi kind of. Yeah. But the Young Elites is this group of people that have superpowers basically. And there's like a group of good superpower kids and then a group of like bad superpower kids. And this girl and her brother or sister, I think, kind of get bamboozled into like joining the bad side because they get kicked out by the good side. And then it's following her like coming into her power and then like turning into like this maniacal, like overpowered. It's fun.
Okay.
Yeah. And there's not a lot of romance in it, but
I mean, if it's for a younger audience, then...
And it's surprisingly fun for like a YA book.
Okay.
Yeah. And then Belladonna is obviously the third one. The other one that this kind of pushed out, I guess, is The Burning Sky by Sherry Thomas. It's one of those like super cheap, like probably 99 cents on Amazon. I read it when I was in high school.
I have never heard of it.
It probably has like 400 reviews, but it was like another fun one. So it's this like elemental power couple basically, and they can only join together to like solve these like magical like phenomenon kind of things. It was like a fun read. I think it's a little bit more spicy than some of the other ones, but I think it's still in that YA category. But yeah, that's another one. And yeah. It was mid. Yeah. I don't have anything else to say. It's mid.
I am really curious, these like kind of mediocre books, when people really like them, what makes them like it?
That's what I wonder too.
Because remember, we were which book were we talking? Oh, Fourth Wing, obviously.
Oh, yeah.
Right? People who haven't read a lot before. I wonder if that's part of it.
I kind of wonder because I was thinking this morning and I wanted to talk to you about it and maybe this episode isn't quite the right venue. But if you're done listening to the pick of the week, you could stop now and then, we'll continue our like bonus conversation. I don't know. I will say that there has been this kind of explosion of books that have a fun, interesting premise. And the first bit is really convincing. Like you can tell that the idea has been kind of boinging around in someone's mind for a long time. But then it pitter patters out in like, it really needed a really good edit and like a couple rounds of editing. There's been this like explosion of those books that everyone's kind of like talking about, but it's like, this is not great.
Yeah, and I think that kind of accounts for there seems to be more books being published like now, and more especially in the genre that we like to like live in for the most part. And I wonder if that's because there's less discrimination in the publishing industry, like against new authors or like not established authors. Because I don't know a lot about the publishing industry, but from what I've heard, like just reading articles and whatnot, it's that it used to be this very elitist. You had to know someone who knew someone. You maybe got an N, and your stuff had to be really good, like really, really good to even break out into it. And God help you if you like didn't stay within the certain bounds of what's acceptable for particular age groups or genres and all of that.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of those restrictions are gone. And maybe that kind of also tracks with the Me Too movement and like less discrimination against like words are hard.
That's fair.
Like gender identity, like sexual preference. All of that is no longer like taboo. So maybe just opening the gates to new authors allows for more books that more people can feel welcomed by.
See that, but I feel like that's almost a side effect, but in a good way, where like we've opened the doors for anyone to publish things, and it doesn't have to conform to a very like heteronormative white character plan. But we've also kind of opened the door for books that aren't like well put together, that do follow like heteronormative white norms, that are just like, this isn't
Slapshot. And
this is like C- work. I obviously am glad that like publishing is more transparent and like people can get their stuff published that absolutely should get their stuff published, but it's also letting through all this kind of like just like really mediocre work that it feels like a money grab almost. And I kind of wonder how Amazon Unlimited has influenced that in a negative way. It's great because indie authors can get their stuff published, but that was true before. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
but
like
now
you could
it's
self-publish back in the day, and that wasn't a thing.
And I think too that Kindle Unlimited has kind of not insulted, but indie authors still go through really rigorous like editing processes. Like they have alpha and beta readers, they have, people that are giving them feedback because they care about the product. But I kind of feel like the Kindle Unlimited like surge recently has kind of like just been this money grab of authors who like, and maybe not money grab, but like people who wanted to be an author, but it maybe needed more like fine tuning and like working and editing before it was like released out for people to read.
Yeah, because a truly finished story requires, like you were saying, so many rounds of editing and reviewing and like revising over and over again.
Yeah.
Like to say nothing of like making sure there's no plot holes, your characters are developed correctly, and then you have the technical aspects of making sure the English is good.
Yeah.
I'm with you. I don't know if I like that there are so many options. I do. But I don't know how to feel about books like perhaps this one or The Fourth Wing that get just bombarded with all of these positive reviews, and there's not even any thought put into the reading of it.
Yeah. It's like just a review based on like the first like 40, 100 pages maybe, or just like a review based on, oh, this fits the ACOTAR mold, like people will love it. But it's like even ACOTAR like went through a lot of editing. And it's interesting too, because I don't know that Sarah J. Maas's new books have gone through as much editing as her old ones did. Because like the first 2 or 3 Throne of Glass books, and then ACOTAR, and then even the second ACOTAR.
A Court of Mist and Fury?
Yeah. Those you can tell have been through like intense editing and like rounds and rounds. And I think she's even like talked about that experience and how she had to like not bully her editors, but she's like, no, this is, the way it is a certain way, and she'd go back and forth. But I think some of her new ones haven't gone through that much, and you can tell because like the quality isn't the same. Like the last one that everyone pretends like didn't happen in ACOTAR, the like Christmas special one, like that kind of felt like it was maybe pushed out too early. But yeah, it's just harder to find good books to read. And it makes me sad because there's probably a German word for this feeling, but when you want to read a book really bad, but you can't find one that like fits the vibe.
Yeah, I like the amount of scrolling on Kindle and Goodreads, like what are the similar books that you might like to read? And that's why we end up reviewing so many books that we've already read.
Yeah.
Because that's the other thing too, is like in this surge of like especially fantasy and YA books, all of these older books that were published, prior to Amazon really being a thing are kind of shoved in the dark and no one talks about them. But like these established the genre of like YA, new A, fantasy romance. And like I never see those on Instagram or Book Talk. So what's going on?
Yeah. And it's hard too, because I will say as like a younger reader, some of the books from like the early 2000s have like bajillions of reviews, but they sometimes have problematic content that is hard for me to like just bypass for the sake of the story. And so you're kind of in this like weird in-between space where the older books are good, are edited, have, coherent storylines, but maybe have problematic content. But then the newer books feel kind of just shitty work, but maybe don't have the same like content questionable things. So it's like, what books do I read?
We don't read anything. And we just switch gears and we watch K-dramas.
Yeah. K-dramas.
More to follow on that in our
well, actually, you've probably listened to the K-drama episode before this one.
Yeah. Well,
but that explains why.
Yes. So more revealed in yesterday. I don't know. I don't know where we are or what we're doing anymore.
Time doesn't exist. You listen to them whenever.
Yeah, just a glimpse behind the recording curtain is we tend to record like 3 or 4 different episodes at once.
Yeah, so, sometimes. And then there's times that we're like way behind the power curve.
Oh, I know. It's bad. Like week by week, we're like, are we treading water still? Yeah, what are we reading next?
Yeah, but that was Jordan and I's old person rant. Even though neither of us are really old, and I'm for sure not old.
But you're for sure not old. Wow, thanks, Katie.
Oh, girl, I use mid. She just threw like a fuzzy thing at me. I use terms like mid and bussin'.
I wish some people could just get a glimpse into our office for when you drop your Gen Z words and everyone it's like this comic character, like blink, blink, like what just happened?
So there have been times when my partner will listen to the podcast and he will talk about how I'll use like a TikTok reel, like joke or phrase or something. And you think that I'm just like saying the phrase. And it just like, I feel almost like gaslighted. Like when I talk about stuff in the office and I'm like, oh, did you guys see this thing? And everybody's just like, no. Like, did I make that up? Like, am I hallucinating?
There's such a divide, like a generational divide now. I don't know if it's I think the gen divide between X and Z is massive.
Like, yeah.
I think it feels probably stronger between millennial and Gen Z because we're so close. But yeah, what was the word that you used just the other day? It wasn't mid. It was
I don't know.
Oh, it was mid because you said it for Bohemian Rhapsody.
Oh, yeah. Bohemian Rhapsody is absolutely mid. We probably lost all of our followers.
I'm going to leave it at that. That's Katie's take on Queen. Do you like any of the other Queen songs?
I don't think so. So maybe it could just be like a Queen.
Oh my God.
I do like older music, but Queen just has that. I was about to stop myself. I knew I was going to say something absolutely catastrophically questionable about Taylor Swift, and I will stop myself. I know.
Do not touch Taylor Swift in my presence.
I know. Jordan is a hardcore Swiftie.
Yeah. Won't ever spend $3,000 on tickets.
That's fair.
You have to like people to go to concerts like that.
That is also true.
Yeah. No.
Yeah. I'm a loner 100%.
Exactly.
We're loners together.
Oh, see, this is why we pod together.
That is true.
Yeah.
In an empty room.
Empty room. Only dogs present.
Yep. 100%. Yeah. But anyway, that was my pick of the week.
Thanks for a longer episode of Pick of the Week.
Yeah. So, listen to all of this, thank you. And I would be interested. So if there's any indie authors that listen to the podcast or like caught this one episode or anyone in like the publishing realm,
give us a glimpse into your life, please.
Especially if you're someone that's been like doing it for a while, because I would be really interested in like pre-Amazon and post-Amazon. Like if someone could do their like doctoral thesis on that, I would 100% pay you whatever crazy science book fee.
Yeah. Well, Amazon plus social media.
Yeah, that
because
too.
It was like 2 waves.
100%.
We're going to dive into another rabbit hole.
That is true. So, but yeah, if anybody listens to it, please like send us an email or an email. Contact us some way. Well, because I want like a thesis, you know, like tell me everything.
Yeah.
You have a willing listener right here.
Yeah, because we're just speculating. Like we have no background in any of this. We just like to read.
Yeah. So this is like the reader perspective, but I want the like insider knowledge.
Come to us.
We'll like black out your voice so it sounds like one of those like whoa, whoa. So then you don't get like, you know, like put on a hit list by Amazon. What if we're on a hit list by Amazon?
We might be. After the Fourth Wing episode, we very much are on someone's
I could see that.
hit list.
I buy things from Amazon. Please don't hate me or murder me somehow.
Yeah. It's okay.
But yeah.
Well,
pick of the week.
Pick of the week. From Katie's shelf to yours.
We'll hopefully see you on the next page. Hi, readers. If you'd like to help us pick our next book, send us a message on Instagram.
Or if you'd like to just listen, we post new episodes every Monday and Wednesday on Spotify, Apple, and Amazon. Thanks for listening.
Bussin'.